Again. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Don't Know a Ball podcast. I'm joined with the full crew today. Lucas.
We normally don't talk when you intro us.
I'm changing it up.
Okay.
Isaac and Josh.
Yep.
Welcome, everybody, to the show.
We're here.
Today, we have a very special guest here. We're all really excited. Welcome, everybody, to the show. Lern from the Rizzuto show.
Hi, guys. I'm so happy to be here.
We're excited to have you here. We've been looking forward to this for a while. When I reached out, I thought there was no chance we'd get you, and I was really, really excited when I saw you were coming on.
Yeah.
So we're really excited to talk about your career in radio and everything that you do with The Point and Cashapp and working with you, man. We're very interested in that. We're big baseball fans here.
I get that from the title of your show. And in fact, I was really excited because, I don't know anything about sports. So to be on a sports podcast is pretty cool for me. So thanks for having me.
We're excited to have you. So you worked for Cashapp for a long time, correct?
Yeah, 15 years.
Is that where you started out in radio at?
Yeah, I started in college like you guys. I went to Illinois State, and they had a really good radio program there and a campus station called WZND. So that's essentially where I began. And then I worked in Bloomington, Illinois on weekends for like a couple months at a station called Bob FM, WBBE, kind of similar to the Arch here in St. Louis. And then when I graduated from college, I moved home and started applying, and Cashapp was the station that swooped me up. So that is how I got my start at Cashapp.
Okay, cool. And you said you went to Illinois State?
I did, yeah.
Were you journalism, mass comm? What was your degree there?
My degree was mass comm with a concentration in radio and a minor in writing.
Okay. That's about similar to what we are.
Yeah.
Mass comm broadcasting. Lucas is same thing.
Minor in journalism also.
Isaac, what are you?
Mass comm and broadcasting, no minor.
And Josh?
Mass comm with an emphasis in journalism.
So we're all over the place a little bit with different things. We all want to do something in broadcasting. Or not broadcasting, in media, sort of.
Yeah, we're all journalism nerds. That's cool.
What's the biggest piece of advice you could give somebody starting out in radio?
Well, today my advice is, because it changes daily, my advice today is be realistic. I think everybody, and I was like this too, everybody thinks that they are going to become Howard Stern or Jack Buck or the top brass of this business. And you need to have that excitement and the knowledge and that esteem, but you also have to be realistic, right? So it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a really long time to get where you want to be. And, I'm 16 years in, and this was not my original goal when I started. I thought I was going to be on the West Coast at the legendary station K-Rock, KROQ, and I thought I was going to be working for this man named Kevin Weatherly, who was an excellent program director when I was in college. And I thought I was going to be living in the West Coast and getting out of St. Louis, right? And that did not happen at all. And it still hasn't happened. Could it still? Maybe, but probably not. So you have to be realistic in your goal setting, and you have to work really hard, and you have to get out of your own way a lot of times. So that would be my advice to you guys is be realistic in your goals. Understand that even if you don't get to where you really, really want to be, things are going to twist and turn in your career in ways that will excite you and disappoint you. But if you stick with it, you'll end up somewhere where it's unexpected. And that's kind of cool. That's kind of the process of having a career, I feel like.
When you started radio, did you want to be on like a talk show like you're on now, or did you want it to be more DJ style, playing music? Because I know you're a big they call you the music nerd on there all the time.
I wanted to be a music disc jockey. I wanted to be. Have you guys ever seen the movie Rock and Roll High School with the Ramones from like the 70s?
I don't think so. You guys seen it?
It's kind of a cult classic. It's not like a great movie by any means, but it's just like kind of a cool one. And there's a character in it called Riff Randall, and she's a high school DJ, and she was so cool, and she's like friends with the Ramones. And I thought that was kind of the epitome of just cool. Like I love music. I love sharing myself with people. And so I thought that's how I would connect to people, through music and through my personality. So to be on the Rizzuto show now, where we have zero music and it's all our lucid beings, it's really interesting because I've never had this much time and freedom to talk and share. So that's kind of new for me in music radio, we had to be brief, bright, and tight, where you only had maybe 30 seconds in between songs, and that was the direction I was given. And so there's something to freeing your personality like we do on the Rizzuto show, and I'm glad it resonates to some. And on the opposite side, it doesn't resonate with all. So you have to take the good with the bad, unfortunately. But yeah, I miss jockeying Led Zeppelin and talking about Black Sabbath and staying up to date with my musicians, but I still get to do that in my personal time. And I still host Monday Night Metal on Cashapp on Monday nights, so I still get, even though it's voice track, and so I still get a little bit of that each week, which is really nice.
That was going to be my next question, if you were still doing Monday Night Metal.
Oh yeah, we're still doing it. It's been tracked. I mean, there's just no way, like, for my health, I couldn't do it. It's 9 to midnight, and then I'm up at 3:30 to go to the Riz show. So it's like, for my health on Mondays and Tuesdays, I can't do it live anymore. Voice
tracking is a great thing. We started doing that. I started doing it this year. I learned about it. It's a very nice thing to be able to do and not have to be in the studio for that extra 3 hours.
Yeah, it's kind of like AI, only it's yourself, Yeah. You can be in two places at the same time, which is really convenient for radio people.
It's pretty cool when you, if you forget that you did it and then you hear your voice. We were showing somebody around the studio the other day, and we were in the station, and I heard my voice, and I was like, when did I do this?
That's cool. Do you air check yourself? Like, do you pick out what you hate and love about your presentation?
I've honestly, that was, I think, the first time I've ever heard myself back on the radio, and I've been doing it, how long? 3 months-ish? 2 months, 3 months? 2 or 3 months, and I don't think I've ever listened to myself back.
Oh, my advice for you radio guys is always, once a week, go listen to yourself. Go back and listen to yourself, okay? Because I still do that to this day. I'll listen to our podcast, like I'll go on a walk or something, and I'll be listening to us, and I do it to air check myself, because program directors these days don't air check their personalities as much, and all of us have hang-ups. I mean, I say the word like, and I do and those are my crutch words, and so I've been trying to eliminate that from my speaking when I'm on air to kind of refine myself and make myself a little bit better. So that's some more advice I would give you guys.
I need to definitely do that. I thought we were going to be able to do that more, and every time I move, there's feedback on the mic. Let me
stop moving.
I can't hear it, so it's not bothering me.
Okay, that's good. So hopefully it's not picking it up, but I think it's because I'm the only one with headphones on, and it's
definitely picking
definitely
right
picking
there.
I can't move from here.
Yeah.
I'll stay right here. And I won't
Are you
move.
guys able to? Does anybody else have headphones, or is there just like one headphone jack?
There's a couple jacks, but I don't think anybody has headphones. I got good headphones, and we only usually just need the one. So.
Okay. Hey, if you guys are all good, I'm okay. I'm not hearing anything.
As long as it's not coming back on your end. Hopefully it's not coming through onto the soundboard.
I think it is, but
yeah.
Probably it spikes every once in a while, but I don't.
Yep.
It just did it.
The end of the world.
Stop moving.
I'm not.
he's not moving.
But
Maybe
you
try
are.
putting the headphones on the table.
That's a great idea.
That works.
I don't know why we didn't do it to start with. That's a great idea.
I think someone suggested that.
I think Lucas did.
Yeah, I don't listen to you guys. They know I don't listen to them very good. So when you're on Cashapp, when you're the disc jockey on Cashapp, do you get to pick the music? Because on our station, we don't get to pick the music.
So on Monday Night Metal, I program the whole show, and that's from the library that we have at Cashapp. And so every month, the program director, Marty Link, and I are adding new music and taking old stuff out. So I do have the freedom to program my specialty show, which is the same for like U-Man for his classic show and Vinyl Exam on Sundays. He still programs that himself, okay? And Favaz does The Seventh Day, and people like Donnie Fandango with New Music Sunday get to do the programming of those specialty shows. But as far as the main playlist of music at Cashapp and at The Point, and at mainly all corporate radio stations, you have music directors or program directors who that's their job, is to program the day, right? So DJs do not have that freedom like they used to in the 70s.
Okay. I didn't know. That was one of the things that surprised me the most when I started doing the KCLC radio was that we don't get to pick songs. And we get there's some weird stuff that plays on that station.
Yeah.
Do you ever listen to that one? 89.1?
No. I've listened to it in the past. I've had some friends come through the Lindenwood program. So what exactly is the playlist like? Is it eclectic, like all genres?
They say it's alternative, kind of like what The Point plays. But there's some strange stuff that plays.
Yeah. And it's very repetitive.
It is. We hear the same $10 cowboy song like 14 times a week.
Ugh. What would you guys play? Let's go around the horn. What band would you put on the radio station right now if you could?
Green Day. I would play Green Day.
Who else? Give me another thing.
I don't know. That's an
that's a great question.
Yeah.
Ooh, I got a couple guys in mind.
What would you play? If you freedom, any genre, any music, what would you play? While we think about this.
I got my answer.
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Well, if I could program my own station. So when I was in college, we had a rock, it was half rock, half hip hop. Like the week it was divided. So we had two different genres of stations within one umbrella. And I flipped it to an alternative rock station because I wanted to play like 90s grunge and all that. But now I'm a little older. My soul is super old. So I would probably play like Led Zeppelin and Alice in Chains and No Doubt and Sneaker Pimps. And then I would, put like Notorious B.I.G.
Yeah,
I would create like a really cool new genre of eclectic music from my generation. Honestly, that'd be really fun.
I like that idea.
Izzy, I want to know who you would.
I'm scared to know what I was going to say.
I guarantee that probably none of you guys have heard any of these names that I'm gonna say, but like I'm a big fan of country music.
Yep, there it is.
So
I knew it.
no, probably like newer guys
Merle Haggard?
like Cody Johnson's a guy that I really enjoy listening to. I'm a pretty big Zach Bryan fan.
We have Zach Bryan on there. There's like one Zach Bryan song.
Yeah, one Zach Bryan song, and I it's only on whenever I do my voice track hours, and I can never hear it whenever I'm in there, and it makes me so mad. But he's a guy I would play quite a bit. Parker McCollum's a guy I would play quite frequently.
I've seen him perform, not really a concert. I was there, but he's good.
I'm going to see him in June actually.
Nice.
I got tickets for Christmas, so that's girlfriend and I are gonna make a little weekend trip to Indianapolis, so I'm looking forward to that in June. And
going
That's great.
trying to think who else I would listen, who else I'd put on
Is
there.
it bad that I've never been to a concert?
What the heck? Yeah.
But what about?
Yeah,
That doesn't
it is
count.
bad.
The only thing I've sort of been to is when Moon played at Baldwin Days last year. I don't really count it as a concert.
That counts.
It was Baldwin
Well,
Days.
that
though.
counts. I mean, it's a show. You do need to go to a concert. You need to like start looking at all of the venues and pick out, even if it's a band that you're only half into, and you need to go because live music. I can't even tell you when I started. Well, my first concert ever was Smashing Pumpkins in 1996.
Okay.
And my mom took me, and that was the first concert I ever wanted to go to on my own. Like I picked out the band. I wanted to see them live. Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness had just come out with it, which was a quintessential album when I was young. And I really wanted to see them. And so my mom took me. And then after that, I was kind of addicted. Once I could finally get to the concerts myself without parental consent, I mean, it was on. And it's so much fun.
They look like they'd be fun. Smashing Pumpkins is Billy Corgan's band, right? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you got it.
Cool. Smashing Pumpkins, Billy Corgan, right?
Yes, it is Billy Corgan.
I met him backstage at a pro wrestling show once. I had no idea who he was, but I met him.
Oh, yeah, he's got his wrestling company.
He does, yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool. I've never met him before.
Really? So speaking of that, I've seen some clips of
I've
interviews
never
with
met
you
him.
and stuff.
He's been to the station.
What was that? I didn't hear you. What'd you say?
Oh, I think we're on a delay. Sorry. I said I've never met him before. He's been at the station, but I've always missed him when he's been around.
Okay. So since you mentioned that, who's your favorite interview you've done? I know you got to interview the guy from Metallica like a couple months ago, but who's your all-time favorite interview you've gotten to do because of Casey and the Point?
Oh, man. I really enjoyed talking to Roger Waters from Pink Floyd on the phone. And I've gotten to interview Mick Fleetwood, the drummer of Fleetwood Mac, on the phone. Done a lot of phone interviews, which aren't as much fun, but still count in my heart. Yeah, let's see. I've talked to Nancy Wilson. I've talked to Rod Stewart, Rob Halford of Judas Priest.
Who's Rod Stewart? I know the name, but I can't think what he's in.
Rod Stewart was in Small Faces, and Rod Stewart was a solo artist for most of his success. I'm not a huge Rod Stewart fan. Like, I don't love his music, but he's a fun person to talk to, and it was just interesting because he's so like legendary. He's like Sir Rod Stewart over in England. He got like knighted by the Queen and everything. So that's kind of neat. Yeah, I've had the privilege of speaking to a lot of different people. Like, anytime Styx would come through, or REO Speedwagon, or I've met Joe Perry. I got to meet Chris Cornell of Soundgarden. I didn't get to interview him, but I got to be in the room while he was being interviewed. It's just, I've had a lot of great conversations with some of the most legendary voices in rock, and it's pretty amazing. I mean, that's when you really nerd out, is when you get to kind of meet your idols.
Who did you get to interview from Metallica?
Robert Trujillo, and then so he's the bassist, and I got to be in there whenever AD was interviewing Kirk Hammett, which was really cool.
That's really cool.
I got to meet him, which is so excellent. And I just really enjoy it's fun when you meet celebrities like that and musicians, because they're so different usually than what you expect them to be. Some of them are more kind of quiet, or some of them are more goofy. It's really fun to get to know a person just in that fleeting moment.
It is really cool to get to meet those people. It's the same thing like us meeting radio people. You guys have everybody that we've talked to so far has been amazing and helped us out a lot and was more than willing to do stuff. So it's really cool. It's like they're just people at the end of the day. And it's cool to see those people that you like so much. If you could interview any musician or anybody at all, who would it be?
Ooh, I would love to talk to Jeff Lynne of Electric Light Orchestra. And of course, I had a phone call set up with Stevie Nicks, and she blew me off. And I was so sad.
You say Stevie Nicks?
I did. Yeah, Stevie Nicks.
Did you ever find out why she blew you off?
I don't know. No, I didn't actually. I don't know if it was like her promotions team screwed up, or maybe the number was wrong. I don't know. I still to this day, I don't know why we never got to get that phone call in. I'd love to sit down with like Gwen Stefani, or God, I mean, there's so many. Like Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam would be really cool. Dave Grohl. He's like the top of my list. If I could get down and sit with Dave Grohl and talk to him about everything, that to me is like the one guy that I need to get still. And then I can probably retire. If I get to interview Dave Grohl, I'm out. I don't need to have a job anymore.
Dave Grohl just seems like such a cool guy.
He is cool, and he's good, and he's had such a crazy career with all the bands that he's been a part of. And he's such he dropped out of high school, and
I didn't know that.
His mom, Virginia, who I did get to interview. I did get to interview Dave's mom, because she put out a book called From Cradle to the Stage, where Virginia Grohl, she interviewed a bunch of rock stars' moms. And
that's really interesting.
And she died like a couple years after this. So I got to like tell Virginia Grohl, I thanked her for birthing Dave Grohl and giving him to the world. And so I want to tell him that if I ever get to meet him or interview him, I want to be like, dude, like I went straight to the source and like, thank your mom, because he had such a great relationship with his mother. And she was a teacher, and she said to him when he was in high school, like, hey, because I guess he came to her and said something essentially like, Mom, I'm not a good student. I'm not going to be a doctor. I'm going to be a musician. And he was really into music because of his sister. And his mom had the knowledge enough to go, okay, let's follow your dream, which no mother would ever do. All of our moms would never have let us drop out of school. Right. So
no chance.
No. Definitely not.
Yeah. Right. So Virginia Grohl said, let's do it. And then he just took off and had this incredible music career that changed the lives of everybody. I mean, Nirvana and Foo Fighters. I mean,
it's insane that he was in both bands.
I know. And both successful, and losing Kurt Cobain and then losing Taylor Hawkins. Like, I just think that he is a very resilient creature, and I just love it. And I feel like I personally know him. I know that sounds psychotic, but I feel like I would get along with him, and that it would be a great interview. I just feel like it would go really well. So I hope I get to do it someday. The
way on the show you and Rafe talk about him, it feels like you know him. As big of a fan of
it. Oh, yeah.
I was going to mention Dave Grohl because I knew you were a big fan. Because it seems like you and Rafe talk about Dave Grohl and Sammy Hagar at least twice a week.
Well, we talk about David Lee Roth, that era of Van Halen.
And not liking Sammy Hagar.
Yeah. I've gotten to meet Sammy Hagar a few times, and I actually personally like Sammy as a person. But yeah, we're a David Lee Roth show. We are Diamond Dave through and through. but yeah, Rafe, it's funny. So Rafe knows a lot about kind of country rock music, and he's introduced me. You were saying Merle Haggard earlier. He introduced me to like Hank Williams. Well, my dad used to listen to Hank Williams Jr., but Rafe has kind of thrown some songs my way by like Waylon Jennings, which I would, I'm not a country person at all, but that classic country and kind of those outlaw country artists from back in the day, there's something kind of cool about them. So he's been kind of filling up my playlist with some Waylon and some Hank Williams, which my dad, if he were still alive, he'd probably be very impressed to know that I'm a fan of those bands these days.
Isaac's a big fan of outlaw country. I almost said backwoods
country.
Backwoods country.
It kind of is. There's some good stuff though. Waylon Jennings and like Hank Williams and
yeah.
I like David Allan Coe. I don't know if that's outlaw country, but I like him.
Yeah, it is. I would consider it.
I don't know nothing about that.
I just know the one song.
Well,
which one?
Cool.
I think I have another.
You Never Call Me by My Name.
Yeah, that's like
I sang that song karaoke a couple weeks ago.
Of course you did.
Me and my buddy. It was fun. So you mentioned we were talking about Rafe and the Rizzuto show. What was that transition like getting there at 4 a.m. every day and doing this 4-hour talk show every day instead of a music show with you, man?
Well, it's a lot more prep. So John and I, in 2012, John and I started the Casey Morning Rock Show, and we would get to the station at 5:30, and the show would start at 6. And we didn't need to have the whole show prepped because we had played so much music and had commercial breaks that we could prep as we go. You know what I'm saying? We didn't need to have it all ready to go before the show started. And that was really good. And then the Rizzuto show, Riz gets up at 2:30 and he's the first to arrive at the building.
Riz is nuts.
And he gets there around he's insane. But I will say this for him. The way that he has done radio, he reads everything. His comprehension for reading is great. And so he essentially is reading from 3:30 until 5:30, and he's reading local news, sports. He knows everything that's going on in the world overnight, which is really, I tell him all the time, I'm like, dude, your brain is just incredible. He can recall things so easily and they're accurate. Whereas I'm an idiot and I'm like, I can't tell you what happened last week with accuracy. So he's inspiring. He's inspiring to me in that way of how much he retains the information he reads and then how much prep that he does. And essentially I'll give you the whole rundown. So he gets there at, let's call it 3:30.
That's insane.
I show up next a little bit before 5. Moon shows up at 5. King Scott will get there around 5:15. And I think Rafe is there from 5:15 to 5:30. Okay. So that's how we stagger it. And Riz has already done the bulk of the prep for the show, where he's directing all of us what we're going to do that day, what games we're going to play, what headlines we're going to talk about, thoughts he's had. And essentially what happens is before we go on the show, we're all given a huge packet of 50 papers,
Jesus.
Which is not very environmentally friendly, but whatever. We get 50 papers, and it's a schedule of the show, and then it's all of the breakdown of the material that he's read that morning, okay? And so I get that at 5:50, and I don't have time to go through everything that he's read because it's 50 pages. But I have my crap on celebrities. I have my notes that I would like to bring up if we have time, and then any other things that have been asked of me. Like this week, Moon's out, so I have been prepping sports, which is just kind of fun for me to do. So, and that's how that goes. And so Moon, when he's there, he'll get sports done, and he does some back end things. King Scott's the executive producer of the show. So anything that we do, the blog that's posted, the podcast, any business side of things, King Scott is the guy. I mean, he's really, if Riz is the brain of the show, King Scott, I think, is the heartbeat of the show because he makes all of the back end stuff work for us, which is huge. He does a lot of work throughout the whole show.
I was just going to ask what in the world that guy does other than make dad jokes.
Yeah. Yeah. He does all the blog posting and podcast posting, and he kind of the more boring stuff that he has to do is anytime that we have a commercial or an endorsement, like if you hear Riz talking about his deck or you hear me talking about Victory Men's Health, King Scott will take that clip from the air and he'll get that to our salespeople so they can do recaps for their business. associate. So he does a lot of things behind the scenes that nobody understands would care about, but we care about it. And he's so good at that, and it's so appreciated, the hard work that he does.
He's pretty good at it if he knows what he's doing. I mean, if people don't know he's doing anything, he's good at it.
People kind of take it for granted.
The meeting is going to end in 10 minutes. Can we restart it real quick?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, I'll send you. Hopefully you can just rejoin it. If not, I'll send you another link to it.
Okay.
Give me
Thanks.
1 second.
Time's up.
Maybe.
All right, cool. Zoom is a pain. It tries to make you pay for stuff.
I know.
I'm not paying for Zoom. I don't use it. I use it once every couple months.
Didn't you get on our professor yesterday for the same thing?
Yeah, I did, but I don't like him, so that's different. Which cat is that? Is that?
That's Willow.
Well, and what's the other one's name?
Clover.
I thought that's what that was, but I didn't want to guess wrong and sound weird trying to guess your cat's names. I do listen. I listen to the show almost every day, so I've been listening to it
That's cool.
For like probably 10 years. What? So when you joined that show, it was right after. Was it like 6 months after Jeff passed away?
Let's see. I think Jeff passed away in August, and we joined in April. So
you started coming around. You and Rafe and Mike and Liv were filling in for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jeff. One of my last memories of Jeff Burton was, God, this had to have been, because I've known Riz and Moon and Patrico and King Scott for like 10 plus years, you know, and Riz I've known for all 16 of my career at Cashapp and stuff. We worked together that whole time, and Jeff, I knew him that whole time too, and so I had never been on the Rizzuto show because I had been on with John, and so I never had an opportunity to come on the show and like the full show and stay for the full show. And then when I went to afternoons at Cashapp, when Jeff was getting more and more sick, I don't know if it was Jeff or Riz or our boss Tommy. Somebody came to me and said, "Hey, would you mind?" I think it was Jeff actually. I think he came to me and goes, "Hey, would you mind coming in and filling in? I'm gonna take a couple of days off." And I said, "Absolutely." And I was like, I'm really excited because I'd never been on the Riz show before. And, you know, I wanted to see my curiosity and my like radio career speculation. I wanted to see how they did it. You know, I wanted to know what that was like in that room. And so they had me on when Jeff was out, and it was really fun to finally understand how the show worked and what they did. And I was really impressed by the process and just how free it was to just talk. And then my last memory of Jeff being alive was him giving me a big hug in our conference room. It was a few days after I had filled in, and he was like, "Thank you so much for filling in for me. You know, I really appreciate it," and gave him a big hug. And that's the last memory I have of him alive, which I'm so grateful that I have that in my brain. It was almost like I remember seeing it outer body, you know, because Jeff was really good people. And he always, when he had the Jeff, Trish and Tom show way before your time, that was the mornings on The Point. Yeah, that was 20 years ago. And I would get ready for high school and listen to the Jeff, Trish, and Tom show. And then when I got to work at MS, where The Point and Cashapp were owned by, when I met Jeff Burton and Tom West for the first time, I was like starstruck because I had listened to them for so long. And I obviously loved Jeff because he was such a flirt, and he was so fun, and like, he was in love with everybody. He loved my husband. You know, he'd always say dirty
everybody
jokes
seems
about
to love
him,
your husband, though.
It's true. My husband is out of the two of us, he's the more well-liked out of the two of us. That is the truth.
He's what?
He's the one. He's the one that everybody loves out of the two of us, for sure.
Moon talks about how much Moon and Scott all the time talk about how much they love Tim. I know.
And Tim is worthy of that love. He's good people. But yeah, Jeff would always say dirty jokes about Tim because Tim used to work with us too, so he got to know Jeff really well. And I miss that guy. And you know, when I filled in for him that one time in July, I didn't think that was. I didn't know. Well, first, I didn't think Jeff was going to die. I didn't. You know, nobody wanted to believe that. And then when so that was 2022, and 2023 comes rolling around and, Patrico getting let go and that whole mess. The show was already devastated. And then it was like that piece, Patrico's part of getting let go and that whole mess. It was like, oh my God, this show that is huge, that is so well loved. It's like, holy shit, like we're taking it, what's going to happen? I think everybody was kind of bracing, like what's going to happen. And so, yeah, again, I was asked like, hey, would you mind coming in and filling in? I was like, absolutely. You just want to help out your coworkers and the guys are so good. So you want to do whatever you can for them. And yeah, I didn't think that I was like auditioning to be on the Rizzuto show at first. And then it was just going so well that management came to me and was like, hey, how would you feel about this? And I had to really think about it because I still love Casey so much. I feel like my heart and soul will always be kind of a Casey girl. But, at the same time, I felt a great opportunity had landed and I was like, why not change it up? Like why not do something a little different than I was used to? And it seemed to help everybody out. And I was like, why not? Let's just do it. So you got to kind of, you got to take those catalyst moments and think about them. And then even if it scares the crap out of you, take the leap. So that's kind of what I did.
Yeah. You were talking about how great of a guy Jeff was. I met him once, but I went to high school with his daughter.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's great.
His younger daughter. She was always really nice to me. We weren't really friends, but we always got along real good. But
yeah, his kids are great.
He was everybody loved him so much in Eureka. The Valvoline even had a sign up for him saying everybody loved him and,
Oh, that's great. He was so easy to love,
He was.
Some people are just easier to love. And he was very much that person. And, Julie, his wife, is an incredible human being too. And his girls, those were the light of his life. And so I'm glad you went to school with his daughter. That's neat.
She was cool. Yeah. I didn't know her too good. I see her occasionally every once in a while, but I haven't talked to her in 4 or 5 years. But, so you kind of filled in a lot of his roles, the crap on celebrities, those kind of stuff. What was there's pretty high expectations because he's like a radio legend in St. Louis. What was that like trying to not fill in his shoes, but like do the same job he did?
Well, I'll never be Jeff. And I think, I'll say that out loud just so we put that pin in there. I'll never be him. And I guess I didn't look at it like I was filling his space. I was like, yeah, I don't know. I remember going back and listening to how he did crap on celebrities and he did it so well. And I thought to myself, okay, I'll try to do a little bit of that just to keep it consistent. And it's all personality driven in this business. And so especially being a woman, I have a perverted sense of humor sometimes too, but not like Jeff.
Nobody in the world has a sense of humor. They played a game called Sex Move or Finishing Move with Angelina Love one time. And they made Jeff read off the sex moves from from Urban Dictionary. And it's my favorite segment you guys have ever done.
Oh my God, I'll have to go back and find it. It's on
YouTube. It's so funny because he's trying not to get kicked off the air, but he's also trying to be Jeff at the same time. You need to bring that game back. That's a fun one.
Yeah, you'll have to send me, if you have that, if you go back and watch it, send me that link in email so I can know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's a good one.
That's really funny.
That game and the Mumble the Hits game, I love that one.
Yeah, I played that once. That was so much fun too.
I've seen that video.
Games are my favorite.
There's like 7 or 8 videos on YouTube. I think I've seen them 10 times each.
That's so good. It's, thank you for watching them.
Oh yeah, I watch almost everything you guys post. I'm waiting to see. I didn't get to go to Riz Show Live, but I want to see the clips from it. How was that?
Yeah, there's gonna be a new clip out this week. Oh, it was so much fun. It was like I've been to Riz Show Live before, like the last one, I think it's 2019, but I hadn't ever been a part of it. And man, it was a whirlwind. Those guys, they knew what to do. And Rafe too, Rafe with his improv background and just his comedy mind. And I was impressed with all of them. I really observed the guys a lot, and they have so many different pros about themselves that are great for this entertainment business, and I was impressed with Riz and how much dedication there was there, and he overthinks everything. Moon and his music creativity is so good, and King Scott's ability to just make a fool of himself and not care. And I just tried to accentuate their positive things. And then also I'm really good on the fly. Being scripted has never been my thing. I'm better whenever you just throw me in the fire. So these guys, they get down in that fire, and it's pretty cool to be a part of. And Rizzuto Live was such a success. I mean, I think we're going to do one next year. I mean, that's kind of breaking news. We haven't told anybody that, but I think it's going to happen again next year.
Wow.
Breaking news. You guys got the headline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard, I know I work with a couple people that are on the street team for you guys, and they all said it was like one of their favorite things they've ever been to.
Oh, that's so great. And they worked their asses off too. The people behind the scenes worked harder than we did and made it happen, made it flow. I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, the only thing I had to say, I was like, I just want my own dressing room so I don't have to be around all you dudes and just give me my space. And so I had my own little area, which was awesome. And we had these stupid jumpsuits. It was so much fun. It was and it was a bonding experience. I think every event where the 5 of us are together, it makes us closer as a show. And so that really leveled it up for us as far as making memories and having some mistakes and having some successes. It really does bond people together. And that was the best part.
Are you guys as close as you seem like you are on the air outside of the show?
Yeah. I mean, nothing is fake. So the tension you might hear sometimes, the friendliness that you hear, all of it is real. Riz's angst and impatience, that's real. All of us are different, which is so much fun. None of us are the same. I would say the person I'm the most similar to is Rafe, and he's the one I know the least.
Really?
I did not know him before we started the show.
You guys seem like you're best friends.
We are best friends. He is my best friend on the show. He is such a cool guy that we've had such similar childhoods, and we grew up in the similar part of Southern Illinois. And I have never really met anyone as lovely and funny and ridiculous and raunchy. The dude has so many layers, and he's so interesting. And it's been a joy this last year to get to know Rafe Williams. He's one of my favorite people of all time.
Sorry, go for it.
So I'm also from Southern Illinois. I'm just curious, what part of Illinois are you from? Like, what town?
Yeah, so I was born in Carbondale, and then I grew up in a little town called West Frankfort, and then I moved to Columbia, Illinois when I was like 14.
I've heard of all 3 of those towns, so yeah. I will.
Cool.
Yep, you validated. That's Southern Illinois.
Where are you from?
Vandalia, Illinois.
Oh, yeah, I know Vandalia.
Yep. My boss actually went to Carbondale back home for college.
Cool.
I've never heard of any of those places you mentioned. I've heard of Columbia.
Have you never heard of any of those places?
Huh?
Have you never heard of any of those?
I don't know.
It's crazy.
Played like all 3.
I live in Eureka. I don't go anywhere outside of Eureka.
We're very aware about Eureka.
Oh, hush.
Yeah, we know you live in Eureka.
Everyone who listens to the show knows that you're from Eureka because you bring it up at least
and
twice
the bar.
an episode.
We know the bar. We know everybody at the bar. Yeah, they're all our
Thanks,
friends
guys.
too.
I love it.
Let's call me out for everything that I do.
You would do the same thing to us.
That's
again?
Absolutely. I
You already
would.
have. Yep.
One thing I'm wondering with all the guests you've had on Riz and all the ones you did on Cashapp, who's your least favorite guest you've ever had interviewed or had on the show?
I've interviewed Gene Simmons on the phone, and he was just kind of a prick.
Really?
Yeah, check
Yeah, he's
Seems
very
about right,
entitled.
And
He's
I'm
just- I
really,
don't know.
I know
He's
who
a-
Gene Simmons is, and I can't think of what he's in. He's in Kiss,
Kiss.
right?
Yeah.
He's
Okay.
the lead
Yeah,
singer.
he's
I don't know names of stuff. I know who he is, but I don't know. I could hear
Yeah,
his.
he's-
I didn't realize Ozzy was in Black Sabbath until last week. So
Are you serious?
I don't know names and stuff.
Wait, what did you
I felt
say?
like that was common
That's
knowledge.
wild.
What? What'd you say?
I said that's wild.
What did you say?
That you need to know that Ozzy is in Black Sabbath.
I'm sure I knew
You
it.
have to know that.
I know Ozzy. I know if I hear his voice, I know it's Ozzy. But I didn't think. I don't know if I'd ever listened to Black Sabbath before. I got War Pig stuck in my head for like the last month. Just the intro, the first lyrics in there has been stuck in my head for like a month. So
Yeah, hey, there's worse songs that could be stuck in there. That's a pretty good one.
that is a good song. So Gene Simmons was he just didn't want to talk, didn't want to give you answers?
No, he's just very full of himself and kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Trying to think of anybody else. I
thought he would be cool.
Yeah, Paul Stanley, I think, is is the cooler one out of the two of the guys of KISS that always do the interviews. But let's see, who else? I got to interview comedian Bill Burr,
really?
who I really love. I love him. Yeah. And he's just from Boston, and he's just that East Coast kind of sensibility comes through, and with my Midwest sensibility, it just doesn't always click.
Right.
And so he wasn't any different than he normally is, but it just wasn't a very fun interview.
Was that in person or on the phone?
It was on the phone.
Is he as loud as he seems? Even over the phone?
He wasn't very loud. He just was very angry.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, that sounds like Bill Burr. Everything I've ever seen of him, he's yelling.
Yeah, I agree.
I tried to watch one of his specials, and it was just him screaming. I was like, I can't. He's funny, but he's not that funny. Listen to him scream for an hour.
Yeah.
So he wasn't great. Was that on Casey or was that on Riz?
That was on Casey.
That's an interesting person to have on Casey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's fun. I love comedians. We had Mark Maron in last year, which was so cool. I love Mark Maron, and he was so fun to talk to and completely checked every one of the boxes that I needed him to check as far as kindness and interesting and engaged. And so I hope he comes back on, because I love his podcast, WTF. Do you guys listen to that podcast?
I've never heard of it. I know the name Mark Maron, but I can't think of who he is.
Oh, you got to look into him, especially if you guys love podcasting. He was one of the first original podcasts.
Really?
So, yeah, as far as interview podcasts go, and he has on everybody. Comedians, actors, musicians, former presidents. He's had everybody on, and he's such an interesting, weird, neurotic guy that it's fun to get to know him through those interviews as well. So look into it. WTF podcast with Mark Maron.
Okay. Didn't he mention you guys, and you guys got really excited about it that he mentioned you on a show?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I knew the name.
Yeah, because he has tens of millions of followers on his podcast, and for us to get a shout out, and he mentioned every one of us, was the highlight of the year last year. That was just so damn cool.
That is really cool. Were you on the show at the time when they had Bert on there? Bert Kreischer?
No, that was before me.
I must have been right before you then. Because I think he was promoting his movie. Yeah, that would have been right before you started.
It was pretty good.
I don't remember. I just remember he was on there.
Oh.
I don't know if I ever even saw it. I just remember hearing Bert was on there. I was like, I'm a huge Bert Kreischer fan, so I thought that was really cool.
That's
I know
great.
He's been on there a couple times before. You said you're not much of a sports fan, correct?
Yeah, I don't care about sports, you guys.
So how do you end up doing the sports report? Because that's one of the funniest segments ever when you do sports. Because you clearly you don't care about sports, and hearing you do the sports report is really funny.
What do you guys think is so funny about it? What do you like about it?
I just think it's funny because you go in there and you sound like you know what you're talking about, and then you start talking, and then none of it makes any sense. And I mean that in the nicest way possible.
Yeah, no, I don't take offense. Well, that's exactly what it is. So I don't care about, and I'm not trying to say I don't judge people who care about sports. It's just not where I focus.
Isn't your husband a huge football fan?
Oh yeah, Tim loves the Chiefs. He's a huge college basketball fan.
As he should be.
He played sports. Yeah, he's in it. I mean, the stupid March Madness is coming up. It's the whole thing.
Yes.
Stupid March Madness.
It is the best tournament in all sports. You will never get me to change my mind.
You're going to get Isaac riled up.
I think he already is.
So my mom was a huge Rams fan, PSL ticket holder. My dad was a Cardinals fan. I grew up, in this padded cell of sports fans. Okay. And I can't escape it. And I played soccer, and I played softball, but I didn't care. I was the comic relief on my teams. I was not good. I was just there to keep morale up. Okay. So I know my place. And then when I go to sporting events, I people watch and I drink. That's what I do. And I eat it. I don't care about what's actually happening. So it's a waste of money for me to go. But and working with you, man, he's the PA announcer of the Cardinals, and he knows every sports figure that's respectable for, in the last 50 years. So and the guys on the Riz show are big sports fans in different ways. I just don't subscribe to it. And but it also, the reason I do the sports is because, and this happened with U-Man too. U-Man used to make me do, when the Masters would be on, he would make me read the synopsis of what happened at the Masters. and he would write it. And essentially I would say it like I knew what I was talking about. And he thought it was the most funny thing. And so that kind of carried over to the Riz show where the guys know I hate sports so much. So it's kind of like they want to torture me by making me do it. But then I do my, I research it and I find, and essentially what I do is I scour Twitter for opinions and for stats, and then I'll hodgepodge it all together. And then I read the sports report in a way that sounds like gossip. So you don't know if it's true or not.
That's a good way to put it.
I act like I'm telling you a big secret. And that's kind of the humor side of it, because nobody else is doing that. Like if you turn on ESPN, everybody's really intense and they're talking about, the scoring and it's opinions, and it's really really emotional when it shouldn't be. Like, I'm like, what are we talking about? And so I like to do it in a way that's gossipy, and I like that people know I don't know what I'm talking about. I think that gives them a sort of comfort that they are going to know more than the person talking, and that gives you sort of a leg up on me or something. And yeah, I just do it in that way to make it sound different and hopefully entertain some people.
It always gets everybody in the show laughing too. Like Rafe loves it when you do sports. I don't know if that's
I know.
Because on the podcast, he thinks it's the funniest thing.
Yeah, he yeah, go ahead.
Did you do this? Did you do a sports update at Riz Show Live too?
Yeah, I did. So that video I think is going to come out in a couple of weeks, which you'll see it on our YouTube. And essentially, it's me doing a roundtable report with Brooke Grimsley and Randy Carricker and Alex Ferrario. And
that sounds awesome.
I have it, and they're incredible. And Brooke is incredible because I'm friends with Michelle Smallman too. And I mean, women that do sports reporting are my heroes because I couldn't do it. I could not ever do what they do. They're so knowledgeable. They're so poised. They have so much respect, and they own it. Women in sports is so rare still. And so to have Brooke Grimsley there, and she knows everything that she's talking about, it's so, and I know nothing, and it's like, she's just a good sport for playing along with my ignorance is all I'm going to say. But I think that, sitting around a round table with them and we talked about all the different sporting events that were happening around that time of Riz Show Live. And I have all the sports free memorabilia that people have given me. So I think I had a Cardinals hat on and a jersey, and I had a base behind me, and it looks ridiculous. So you'll have to see it when it comes out. It's pretty ridiculous.
One of the guys on the street team was telling me about it. He said it was hilarious.
Oh, good. I'm glad that they liked it.
I heard nothing but good things about the whole thing. I wish I could have gone. I forgot about it, and it sold out immediately.
Aww. I know. We'll have another one.
I'm gonna try to come next time. Okay. You mentioned Randy and Michelle. I missed their show in the morning. That was a great show. But Michelle is
killing it.
She is. She's on the national ESPN now, doing something.
She is on. It's called Unsportsmanlike, and so she's in New York, and she's on in the morning. In fact, we have her. If you listen to ESPN before 6 a.m., you'll hear her show in New York, which is really cool. And I'm just so proud of her. She's worked so hard, and she's so damn good, and she's knowledgeable. She's gorgeous. She's got the goods, and she's always wanted to do her career in New York, and she's doing it. She's so inspiring to me.
Her and Randy had a really good relationship too. Them together. Yeah. It just worked really good, and I was a big fan of that. I
agree.
I used to flip between Riz and them in the morning. Now it's just you guys.
Oh, that's great. But, good.
You guys have a pretty good. One of the things I like your show a lot is the banter you guys have with the fast lane. With the Pick'em challenge. How did that start? Mm-hmm. How did that all happen? I know Riz said he was going to burn down Brad's house once, and it was a whole thing.
I don't know where it originated. I haven't gotten that story told to me yet, but those guys, Casey and The Point came over to Hubbard in 2018. And so Hubbard had ESPN as one of their stations, right? So we blended the families. And I think that kind of started all sorts of little in-office radio wars. And Anthony Stalter and Jamie Rivers are two of the most ridiculous, hot-headed individuals, and it's so fun to just poke the bear. And I think that's kind of how Riz, it's a specialty of his, is he pokes the bear.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They all love it. They all love each other, but it's fun to kind of one up each other, you know. And like, it's funny with me because I used to be on in the afternoons at Cashapp when Stalter and Rivers had their show, so I would see them guys all the time, and I don't get to see them anymore. And when I came over to the Riz show, I think they were devastated because they knew I was going to be joining forces with their enemies. And I think they took a big hit. You know, they really liked me. So, but it's fun to mess with those guys. They're just such good sports.
They seem like, and that show changes all the time with who's on it. It seems like too. It's because
Carrie
Brad's
Davis
doing play-by-play, Jamie's doing play-by-play, Carrie's there now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hear that one too much. I'm usually not in the car when I'm going anywhere at 4 o'clock, but. What is, of all the segments you guys do on the Riz Show, what's your personal favorite? All the game segments, all the goofy little bits you guys do, what's your favorite?
I love the first hour of the show. I love the brain drain of that 6 a.m. hour when we don't know where. We have a map, we have a road map, but the road map usually gets tossed out the window. We will go off on tangents. I just feel like I've gotten to know the guys so much in that first hour over the last year, and I like it because it's a free thought. It's not like you know, when we do crap on celebrities, you got to kind of get through the crap on celebrities. You can't really veer off into different thoughts. And same thing with sports. And, you know, if we start playing games, I do like playing games like Password. I really enjoy, and Do It Bitch is fun.
Do It Bitch is always funny. I don't know why it's funny to you guys getting shot in the ass, but it's hilarious anytime that happens.
What is with that? Everybody likes to see us get hurt. And I'm like, you know.
Does it hurt that bad?
I'm not. It does. It feels like a really intense sunburn sting.
Ooh,
like for a split second, you know, and then you get these like little dime-sized welts on your butt.
It's that strong of an airsoft gun?
Oh yeah.
I've been shot with airsoft guns before, and it feels like a bee sting for a second, but I guess that was a light one. But.
Yeah, these are. I don't know. I don't know guns or anything, but like it hurts. And you know, I'm somebody that like, I will not back down. I'm not, you know, I think a lot of people, I'm the smallest, I'm the youngest, I'm the smallest, I'm the girl, you know, there's a lot playing against me here where people think like, oh, she's not going to keep up. And like, so I have kind of this chip on my shoulder where I'm like, oh, I got to keep up with these guys, you know, so you're never going to see me not get shot. I'm never going to be the one to say, no, don't do it. You know, like I feel like I got to keep up because otherwise I'll let everybody down.
Was there ever talk about, because I remember when the Pick'em Challenge first started, Riz said he wouldn't shoot Michelle with an airsoft gun. Was there any talk about you not doing that, or were you all for it right away?
I was all for it. I knew that I had to play it. I knew I had to do it the right, you know, because the other thing was I was kind of curious too at first. I remember that first time that Rafe and I got shot, because we got shot together. I don't remember if it was Do It Bitch or what we were playing, but we took our shots together, and I was really curious about how it felt. And that's kind of how I am in general. Like, of course, you get nervous about things, whatever it is, but then after you do it, you're like, oh, okay, I know how this goes now. And so that's kind of how I am. Now, the NFL Pick'em Challenge, where you're getting shot multiple times, like I think I got up to 6 shots in a row.
Jesus.
And it was terrible. I mean, like, to the point where I was like, why are we all doing this to, like, we don't have to do this. We're doing it to ourselves. We can change the rules at any time.
I feel like with the listeners at this point, you can't stop doing it or they'll riot.
I know. Or they'll make us do something worse. So it's like, oh my God.
They used to take, before you got there, they used to take bare ass shots. So.
I know. Yeah, they had to pull their pants up because now there's a girl in the room.
I was wondering how that was going to go because they just started doing that too right before you got there. They've been playing that game for a couple years now.
What idiots.
I feel like that had to be like, from my guess, I feel like that was a Moon thing that started.
Oh, really?
That's my guess, but I don't remember. I could see Moon. I think somebody got tased one time on that show too. I don't know.
I bet. I draw the line at certain things. Like they wanted to do a Riz Show cruise, and I said, I'm not going out on a cruise.
I've heard that conversation a couple of times.
I just refuse. Like I'm a land animal. I don't want to be out on the sea. I'm not the best swimmer. It's just not for me. And like, you know, as you get older, you'll have things in your life that are on your bucket list, or you'll have things that people are going to try and pressure you to do. Like, oh, you got to go to Germany or whatever. It's like, nah, I'm going to do what I want to do. And it's not going out on a boat. Even if I love these guys so much and we'd have a great time, I would be a mess the whole time, like full of anxiety. And so I just told them, I'm like, yeah, you guys can go. I'm like, I'm not going. And in that way, I stick to my guns. If I'm not going to do something, there's a big reason why. There's like a deep rooted reason. I would never just like punk out of something. But yeah, big stuff like that where I'm like, hell no, I'm not going out on the ocean. No thanks. I'm not getting eaten by a whale for this show.
Did Riz finally come around on that one?
Well, they tried to get it off the ground and it didn't end up happening. So it's not gonna end up happening. Yeah, maybe one day, but not next year.
Whatever ended up to the Taco John OnlyFans thing?
Yeah, I don't know. Moon and Rafe kind of went off on that because Riz and I decided we weren't going to put any money down because we were like, talks were getting pretty serious and they needed money. You need to have like $100,000 or whatever it is to get one going. And I came home and talked to my husband about it. And I was like, should we invest in this? Like this is a business. This isn't a stunt. This is like putting up some money. And then, I don't know, Moon and Rafe kind of went off on a little sidebar. They could still be doing it, not telling us. Honestly, I have no idea what's going on with that. But we were going to do an OnlyFans to get some capital so we could spend it on the down payment. And I still have like Marlon Wayans, his bare foot. Like I have it on my phone that we've never shared that we would put on OnlyFans.
It's a name drop right there, Marlon Wayans.
Yeah. So I don't know. It could still happen, but at this point, nobody's talking about it. So who knows? It could be dead in the water too.
It was a big topic for like a solid month.
I know. What a waste of time for us.
Because I thought I had heard that the higher ups at Hubbard didn't want to do it because the show was involved and they wanted all the money.
Yeah, there was a chance of that too. I don't remember anybody actually saying that, but I could see where they would say that, and we're using their business to promote our business. And if we were the only ones making money through that, that's kind of screwed up. So they have a good point.
So we're about out of time. You guys have any other questions for her?
Good.
Well, I got one more thing. You mentioned U-Man a bunch. We're all baseball fans. I know. What was that?
That was Isaac's phone.
What's working with U-Man like? Because everybody in St. Louis knows John Hewlett.
I know. He's the best. My radio career was ruined by him because I got to work with the best the first time, So everybody from here on out that I ever work with, especially men, I will always compare them to John. He's a great person. I called him yesterday. I was thinking about him and I called him, and we have such great chemistry. Our friendship, that was our show. And we have 28 years age difference, but in so many ways I felt like an equal. I felt sometimes like his third wife. I felt like sometimes like his daughter. We had a very loving, great friendship, relationship, work relationship. And he's so cool and he doesn't know it. And he's a St. Louis legend, It wouldn't sound like Busch Stadium if his velvety voice wasn't in Busch when you walked in to see a ball game. And
we were talking about that earlier. When you hear his voice, you're home.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know. It's so true. And one day we won't have his voice, Like he's getting up there in age, and one day he'll retire from Busch Stadium, and that's going to be a really sad day when that happens.
Nobody in St. Louis is prepared for that.
No, and he's got he's essentially mainly retired from radio. He still does his Sunday shows, but he wants to do the PA announcing until they kick him out. So he'll still be, he could still be there for 25 more years. Who knows?
Won't ever kick him out.
We'll see, right?
The Yankees guy did it until he was 100. We found out today.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah, John will do it until he's dead.
That's what the Yankees guy did. He did it till he was 100. He died when he was 100.
That's amazing. That's what John hopes. That you talk to him and he would tell you that he just wants to keep going. He has so much energy in him, and he really is so knowledgeable, and he's got a great heart. Very emotional man. We had a roast for John a couple weeks ago at the Sheldon, and I got up there and made the point to say that he was one of the more emotionally intelligent men I've ever met, and meaning that I've never cried as much as I have cried at work with a person than I did with John. I mean, there would be national tragedies that would happen. I remember specifically in 2012 when the Sandy Hook massacre of all those little kids happened, and John and I came in, I think that happened during our show, and it was breaking news nationally. And then we were devastated for those parents and those children. And then the next morning we came in and John dedicated the first song of the day. It was Santana's Let the Children Play. I believe that's on the Moonflower record. He dedicated that song to those little kids. And as it played in the studio, we just got choked up and we were crying about how devastating that was. And I remember knowing that it was special to know John in that way, because you guys have probably never seen John Hewlett cry. He doesn't do it at the Busch Stadium normally, no. And he doesn't do it on the air normally. And so getting to have kind of a front row seat to his soul was really special. And again, I will never work with anyone as cool or as good in his career as his human. He's just the best guy. And I'm so very lucky I got to work with him.
That's awesome.
That's so cool.
He does seem like, Josh, you say something?
No, I was just agreeing with what Lucas said. That's cool.
He does seem like he's a really cool guy. It looked like the roast was a pretty cool night, too. I know you talked about it briefly on air, but I didn't hear much about it. I don't listen every day, but I listen as much as I can.
Yeah, he's good. I mean, John, he's goofy and he's fun. He knows a lot about music, so that was really cool to get downloaded all that knowledge a little bit. And his stories from the 70s when radio was in its prime of just the Wild West. I mean, I lived vicariously through his storytelling sometimes and wished so much I could have known him back then. I always used to tell him, I was like, John, if I would have been at Cashapp in the 70s, like we would have had a show and then I would have married you. I was like, I just love, I just love him. And so he'll always be one of my dearest friends. And like I said, our friendship is still alive. The show that we had and that chemistry is natural. So that's happening without a microphone in front of us, and I'm so grateful for that. And even though he and his wife and some of his daughters, they migrate to Arizona now in the wintertime, like he's getting ready to come back for Cardinals baseball. So I'm excited to have him back in the building a little bit. And he lives near me. So it'll be great to see him again once he's back for Cardinals baseball.
It will be. Well, we appreciate a lot you coming on. Can you stay on the call for like a minute after we wrap it up?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you coming on today. We had a lot of fun. It was really cool to get to talk to you today. Good luck with the Riz show and everything. Hopefully it keeps going as good as it is. It's a great show, so hopefully it keeps going. We really appreciate you coming on. Like I said, I didn't think there was any chance when I reached out you would do it. So I'm really, really appreciative of you for doing that. If you guys made it this far, thanks for listening, and we'll be back. We don't have much planned yet coming up, but we'll have some fun.
Yes, we do.
That I don't know about.
Yes.
We got some fun stuff coming up.
We have a lot.
Yep.
Is this just what you two planned in the last 10 minutes?
No, we've got. You don't even know.
Oh, nobody told me anything. This is
wow.
news.
Oh, I don't know
It's
what
a
the hell's happening
surprise.
here.
I don't know what they think they're messing with me.
No,
No, we're being dead serious.
we got a big one coming.
Oh, okay. This is news to me.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
All
I'm
right.
excited.
Well, thank you guys all for listening. Josh, you can cut it.
Okay.